Hey there, and welcome to the Healthy Living Blueprint, where we are discussing how to prevent, treat, and potentially reverse chronic and autoimmune disease naturally. My name is Stephanie Grosvenor. I am your host, and today we are joined by Dr. Willow Brown. Willow is a sexologist, endocrinologist, and Chinese medicine doctor. She's an internationally recognized teacher of Taoist sexology, and her offerings provide a profound understanding of what it means to engage in sacred sexuality and live a sensual life. Her online programs and private practice focuses on women's health, endocrine function, and sexuality. Willow guides women from low libido, emotional disharmony, menstrual disorders, menopause, infertility, and postpartum depression to return to their innate equanimity so that they can create sustainable balance in their lives. Willow, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Stephanie, for having me. I'm so excited to be here. It's important work that you're doing and bringing all these experts together, and I'm just thrilled and honored to be part of it.
Of course. Well, it's so much fun to put these events together, and it wouldn't be what it is if it wasn't for people like you and the rest of our panel who kindly offer up their time to share your knowledge with the audience. So thank you very much. Willow, well, let's jump straight in and give everybody what they've come here to experience. And I would love for you to start off by telling us a little bit more about your journey and how you got into the work of sexology.
Yeah, so I have always had a strong interest in the human body and humanness, and I'm a human connoisseur. I just love people, and I'm so interested in all aspects of them, the psychological, the spiritual, the physical, the emotional. I love to get into people at all those angles. And that's always been true for me. I started getting into yoga when I was 13. So just ever since I was very, very young, I've been into these healing arts and went on my journey. And when I was 19, I went through a pretty severe sexual experience that rocked my world. And I was raped. I got pregnant from that rape and an STD. So it was a triple whammy at age 19. It was a big turning point for me, and I am so grateful for that experience. So I know I've come all the way through the portal of that experience because I have really deep visceral gratitude for all of it, for all aspects of it, because it's brought me to where I am today. It got me on a healing path at age 19 at a very young age, and that sent me down the track of Chinese medicine and really all kinds of body work, cranial sacral, myofascial, nutrition, functional medicine, so the journey has continued, but that's really that was the catalyst. That was the thing that I was like, okay, wake up, girl, let's start paying attention to, what you're calling in and what you're attracting in your life and how that's, taking you down this road, and let's shift that and start going down a road that you want to be going down. So that was the beginning of my journey as a sexologist. I healed my body from all of that trauma, and I started to attract people who were into this non-ejaculation technique and this sacred sexology work. And I was so curious about it. I was like, what's going on over there? And so books started to come to me, and, more information started to come to me, and I just began studying. I began studying the endocrine system, which is, in my opinion, the root of your sexuality. It's this missing link that people don't think about when they think about sexuality, and it's the root. It's a very important piece of the pie. And so I started studying all of that and reading and practicing, and studying with different teachers. And interestingly enough, a lot of the teachers on the Taoist sexology path, which is more in the vein of Chinese medicine, have been men in the world and in my life. So I had to kind of use my own body as my teacher and just kind of, start to study and become the ologist of my own sexuality. So my body became my best teacher, and I still learn things. I've been doing, Taoist sexology practices now for 20 years, and just last night I had another breakthrough. Sometimes you have a breakthrough and sometimes you don't, but when you continue a practice like that for a long period of time, you find these new nuances and you find these new intricacies, these deeper layers, when you keep devoting to the practice.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love how you said that your body has been your best teacher. And that is so true for all of us if we allow it to be, if we start to actually slow down our lives and get more in tune and connected to what our body is telling us.
Absolutely. And, that's the primary thing of being a biologist or a sexologist or any kind of ologist, is like you become the scientist of your own body. You become the observer. You become the one who is tracking and paying attention. And when I eat this, how do I feel? And when I have an encounter with that person, how do I feel? And, when I have this kind of sexual experience, how do I feel versus that kind?
Yeah.
So, it's really about observing what you're choosing to do and how it's affecting you in your life.
Amazing. And I heard you mention now, and you talk about it in your bio as well, the study of sacred sexuality. So what does that mean? What is sacred sexuality?
Yeah, that's a great question. I get to ask that a lot, and I love that question. So I mean, we don't have a lot of reference for the different kinds of sexuality that there are out there, and there are ways of having what we think of as, it's like, what we see in the movies and what we see in pornography, and what we learn that sex should be this, like, the guy should be hard the whole time, the woman should be screaming, and it should just be this like explosive thing. But there's so much more to it. There's all this other, that's just the myopic view. And so there's so much more to it. I mean, you could have a sexual experience with a tree, you could have a sexual experience with a lover, or just with yourself. It doesn't even have to include another person. But the sacred sexual practice is when you are bringing a connection of spirituality into your sexual experience. And once you kind of start doing that and going down that path, you don't want to go back. You're like, wow, there's so much more depth. There's so much more intimacy and richness when I engage sexually with spirit, So one of the practices taught in Tantra, which is another one of these ancient lineages of sacred sexuality, is a practice called sex magic. And that practice is about making love to your dream, your vision, your goal. What is it that you want to create, and how can you bring that creative life force energy of sexuality to the table with what it is that you're calling in? As sexual energy is the most potent creative energy that we have access to as humans. I mean, it creates a whole new life. Like, there's really nothing more potent than that. And if it can create a whole new human being, a whole new life, then you can create a whole new life for yourself with that same energy.
Wow.
So it's about learning how to cultivate sexual energy and boost up your vitality and your health, so you have a lot of energy for what you want to create, and then bringing that into fruition, bringing that into manifestation.
Oh, I love it. That's incredible. And as you mentioned, it's life-giving energy. It's the most powerful life-giving and creative energy. We literally create a new person from it. And the idea that we can use that same energy with more intention to create the life that we want to create and to optimize our health, it's so powerful. So
It really is. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I think there's a slight delay on this recording today, but tell us a little bit more about how we can do that. It's great to know that that energy is so powerful, and you mentioned because it's this life-giving, this creative energy, it does play a role in our health. But let's talk a bit more about the role it plays in our health and vitality, and how we can really use that to our advantage.
Yeah, I love talking about that. How does sexuality support your health and your vitality? So in Chinese medicine, your sexual essence, your sexual qi or energy is stored in your kidneys and your adrenal glands. And as we know from the Western world, many of us are burning the candles at both ends and our adrenals are depleted, right? So if that's happening, if you've got shriveled up little raisins for adrenals, then you probably aren't going to have a boosted raging libido. You know, you're probably going to be like, I don't have a sex drive. I'm not that interested. And you kind of just sweep it under the rug and you just don't pay attention to it. So, so adrenal health is really the foundation of good libido and good sexual energy. And so there are practices that I teach and that are taught inside of the Taoist system to help bring sexual energy. So to help bring orgasmic qi, or even just the qi of pleasure, you know, like this tea is like my favorite tea and it brings me so much pleasure. And when I drink it, like I'm drinking it into my adrenals, you know, I'm boosting up that storehouse of energy for sexual qi in my body. And so there's always an opportunity. Everything you do all day long, there's an opportunity to deplete or to bolster up, to augment. And so so that's the foundation, is the adrenals. And then from there, we're gonna blossom into the ovaries or the testes for the male version. And that the adrenals is going to support that functionality of those glands. And as we know, having those glands functioning is what creates a baby, right? Is what creates new life. So there's a lot of creativity in there. And those are second chakra. So second chakra is creativity, and it's also finances. It's also money. It's like, are you surviving in life or are you thriving in life? And how do you cross that threshold? Is this something you wanted to say?
No. I was just saying that's amazing. Wow. It's also the root of finances. Please carry on.
Yes. Exactly. And so so then from the ovaries and testes, then we move to thyroid. Right. So it's not exactly a direct line. We have something called the endocrine triangle that I address first. This is what I've been taught through functional medicine. So address the endocrine triangle first. Down here, we've got adrenals, foundation, and ovaries, testes, also foundation. And up at the top, we've got thyroid, right? Throat chakra. So each one of our glands connects to one of our chakras. So throat chakra and thyroid, as you probably hopefully know, thyroid is important for all of your metabolical functions. It's like your sleep cycles, your digestive system, immune system, and your whole endocrine system. So this is especially important for women who have a menstrual cycle. So all of these cycles, sleep cycle, digestive cycle, all these cycles in life, think about the thyroid. And it being the throat chakra, what I find when I work with patients and clients a lot, I find that there is a closed down throat chakra. You know, there is no voice. It is difficult to speak your truths for a lot of people. It's not even knowing what their truth is, much less being able to speak it out loud clearly in a way that it can be received by the other person. So learning language, you know, relationship is another layer of all of this sexuality. So learning the language of your partner And I'm not just talking a lot like, do we speak English? Do we speak Spanish? Do we speak German? But it's like, there's things that your partner really values that they speak to all the time. So what words are they using? You need to be using those words back to them, because those words make sense to them. So, there are many, many layers to creating an abundant, thriving relationship where the sexuality is not only intact, but thriving and making you feel like you can really do anything, like you can manifest anything in the world. And that's really my goal, is to get people from that place of like, oh, I'm just kind of hanging in there in this relationship, or I'm just haven't had sex in 7-8 years, but I think I want to, is to get them from there to this place of like, oh my God, I had no idea that I could come to this level of thriving inside of my body and inside of my life by bringing sexuality to the forefront. It's the one thing that we tend to be put low and low and low on the priority list. And if it's the one thing that we bring right up to the top, everything else falls into place. Health, money, home, family, work. I mean, everything else falls into place.
Oh my goodness, that is absolutely incredible. And I love how you mentioned the throat chakra, when that's blocked, when that's closed off, and we're not using our voice, we're not speaking our truth in business, in our relationships, particularly as women, tend to try most of the time sort of walk around as people pleasing and putting everybody else first, and not really speaking and being vocal about what it is that we need, because it's seen, I think, for some people as almost like a duty, things that you just need to do, things you need to get done in order to fulfill your role. And I think a lot of it is also a value conversation that women have, not speaking up about what they want, what they need. So that's powerful. It's something for everybody to think about.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
So
yeah, the value piece is huge. Go ahead. You keep going.
No, it's all good. I think there's a bit of a delay. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on with this. But I'm wondering, like, for the people, you've given such a beautiful example of the foundations to look at. And for the audience who's listening, who is really resonating with what you are saying and would like to start going deeper, and learning a bit more for themselves, how to sort of reignite and bring up that sexual energy and use it with more intention to optimize their health, where would be a good starting point for them?
Well, hop on a phone call with me. That's a good starting point. Everyone's at such a different place in their journey with sexuality. So the starting point is going to be different for everyone. When I was getting my master's in Chinese medicine, the answer was always, well, it depends, And to any question that the teacher would ask, we'd be like, well, it depends on the person. But a great place for everyone to start is going to be the adrenals, going to be the kidneys, start to pay attention to like what's going on in your mind all day long. Are you worrying? Are you stressing? Are you under anxiety? Because then you're leaking cortisol. And if your blood body is filled with cortisol, like you're going to be constricted, and you're going to be in this myopic space. You're not going to be able to see all the other things, all the beauty that's surrounding you. So you got to take care of your mind. You got to take care of what are you choosing to put into your body. How are you nourishing yourself? Are you somebody who needs to have more warmer cooked foods, or can you do the raw foods? It's like you've got to have sort of a read on your own constitution, and everybody's constitution is a little bit different. And then then I teach something called turtle breathing or kidney breathing. The turtle represents the kidneys in Chinese medicine. And so this foundational breath is the breath. It's a longevity breath, and it's the breath that we use to draw orgasmic energy to the adrenals. And it's a breath that is really, really nourishing for your adrenals. So if we have a little time, we can do it right now.
I love that.
Okay, so best position to do turtle breathing in is child's pose, but you can do it standing in line at the grocery store, driving in your car, sitting right here watching this interview. So what you're going to do is you're going to drop into your breath, deeper exhale. Start to draw the navel toward the spine, always starting a complete breath on an exhale. We always want to clear before we gather. And as you inhale, imagine you have a turtle shell on your lower back. And as you inhale, you're going to push that shell toward the space behind you. You can use a little bit of abdominal strength to push the breath into the lower back, opening up that shell. And as you exhale, just allow that shell to come back toward your spine. Another inhale, opening up your turtle shell, pushing that shell toward the wall behind you. Another way to think about it is as if you have two balloons on your lower back and you're filling them up with air. And you want to bring so much space into the lower back that the adrenal glands float right up off of the kidney organs, creating some space between those two structures. And just see your adrenal glands like little sponges, just soaking up the chi and the energy of your breath and the nature that's all around you. And as you continue these turtle breaths, just take a moment to tune into your adrenals and ask them if they have a message for you. What is it that your adrenals have been wanting you to know? Good, and then just coming to center, fluttering your eyes open. So that's just a quick version of a very foundational basic practice. Did you get a message from your adrenals?
I did, which quite strangely, you know what I was sort of like hearing or feeling? Like they were saying, I'm thirsty.
Yeah. Hydration is huge. You know, most people suffering with depression are dehydrated.
Wow. Well, that was beautiful. Thank you. And I find when I'm doing something like that, visualization is so important. So when you guide us and say, you know, imagine that space, creating that space between your adrenals and your kidneys, it's powerful because that helps me visualize, that helps me sort of feel that space. I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, and you can take it
Incorporate
further
that
too.
into child's pose every day.
Yes, do it every morning. I do it every morning before I get out of bed, and I wake up and I talk to my adrenals, say, what's on the agenda today? Oh, more patience, more gentleness with myself, more rest, or, you know, we're good. We got energy. We're going to create today. It's really helpful.
Oh, I love it. And you were saying there's another step on that?
Yeah, so you can take it further. That I gave you kind of the first couple steps of the turtle breathing, but there's the adrenals have an outer cortex, adrenal cortex, which has 3 layers to it, and then inside there's an inner medulla. So you can think of like an egg. So we've got the shell, and then we've got the yolk inside. And so when you're breathing and creating that space in your lower back, you can even separate and open up those structures as well. So then you've got all kinds of space in your adrenals. And adrenals just love this. And it's in the spaciousness, it's in that stillness I teach everything according to the phases of the moon cycle. And so this winter phase, which winter is related to the kidneys and the adrenals. So this spacious, like going into hibernation and this time of deep rest, that's where creative energy is born from. If you're trying to create something, pushing to create something, working really hard to manifest something, you're going to burn your adrenals out, right? So if you can come in and just be in this place of rest and stillness, then creation is birthed from that place. And it's just like the energy is there for you. You're like, oh my God, yes, that's what the inspiration, I got to go create that. I got to make this dream manifest in my life. And so that's one of the really big values that we miss in our society. We might know how to clear, like, let me get rid of this relationship, this job, this home, whatever, do a cleanse out of my body. But then we go right into, now what am I going to fill that space back up with? And we don't take the time to recalibrate. We don't take that winter phase to be still, to be in the unknown, to be in the void. Really, it's the Tao. That's the Tao, and the Tao is the way. So that's where that comes from.
Oh, beautiful. Oh my gosh, I'm loving this conversation. I want to keep you on here all day with me. But tell us a bit about, just thank you so much for your beautiful explanations and walking us through that breath exercise. I'm really enjoying this talk with you today. But I would love to hear a bit more about the connection between our sexual energy, or our sexual health, and our mental health, because I know there's a huge link there that we often neglect.
Yes, absolutely. So, if you've ever had a really satisfying, deep, good intimacy, you know how your mind feels after that, right? You feel expanded, you feel in love, like not necessarily in love with that person, but capital I, capital N, you're in it, and you've got more capacity in your mind for the gifts that are coming to you all the time, right? And then think about, like, if you've had maybe a really terrible sexual experience, or you just did it for your husband or your wife because they really wanted to, but you didn't really want to, and it was painful and didn't feel that good. And then think about, like, how your capacity of your mind just kind of goes into this closure state. So we're always kind of gauging our nervous systems. Is it an expansion or is it a contraction? And even sex aside, like, you don't even have to have penetrative sex to have really deep, beautiful, blissful intimacy with somebody.
Yeah.
And that intimacy, which is intimacy in my teachings, is made up of trust, vulnerability, and presence. And when you can really be seen for who you are and loved for all that you are, through that vulnerability and through that deep trust of self and other, this presence takes over. And that's the presence, that's the mindfulness that's being practiced more and more worldwide right now. And so you just have a greater ability and, like I said, capacity, bandwidth for being present when you have that piece of your life met and satisfied and fulfilled.
Oh, amazing. That makes a lot of sense and beautifully explained. Thank you so much. Willow, you have a really cool free gift for our audience. Do you want to tell them about that?
Yeah, I do. So a couple of gifts I want to offer you. One is the Sacred Vijayjay video series, and this is a really fun 10-part series that you're just going to learn so much about your endocrine, your sexuality. Sacred Vijayjay, it is geared toward women, but it's definitely good for the men to watch too. I've had a lot of men watch it and be like, oh my God, I understand women so much better now. And honestly, if the whole world could understand women better, men and women, we'd be doing a lot better. So
right.
we, it's not even just so much men and women. It's like it's the masculine and feminine energy.
Yes.
And we all have it. We all have masculine energy, we all have feminine energy, even if we're non-binary. And so knowing how those energies move through your meridians and understanding how your liver is a part of that and how your spleen is a part of that, understanding how those organ systems in your body can create more sexual vitality inside of your body. So it's just a really fun little 10-part video series that, kick back, have a cup of tea and just kind of take it in and enjoy it. And then I would also love to hop on the call with anyone who is interested in learning more about how Taoist sexual practices could ignite your health, ignite your vitality, and take you to the next level in your sexual experience, because there are layers and layers and layers and levels and levels and levels. And the more that you experience, the more there is to experience. It's kind of like being a musician. The more you know, the more there is to know, So it's very expansive in that way. It's very creative.
Oh, that's incredibly generous gifts from you. Thank you so much. I encourage you guys all to take Willow up on her offer, book that call, and there is a link below the interview for you to download her free gift. Willow, you are an incredible person and an incredible teacher, and I just so appreciate your time on the show with us today. But before we jump off, I've got 2 more quick questions for you, fun little ones that I'm asking all the experts. And nice. Number 1 is, what is the best part about your job and the work that you do?
I think just helping people. I love, like I said at the beginning of this call, I love humans. Each human is their own unique puzzle. Working with couples, it's like an even bigger 2 puzzles together as one. And I love the ahas and the breakthroughs that people have. And I'm a lifelong studier. So, I'm always like, okay, how else can I resource myself to help resource this person and to bring them to a place that I see they can go to. I see highest potential in all of my clients and patients. And there are some that I don't work with because I don't see that they have what it takes to, because what I teach, it's not a magic pill, it's a lifestyle shift. And so, I'm always looking for those who can also, they know somewhere inside of themselves that potential is there as well. So I just love working with people.
I love it. And I couldn't agree with you more. As a client or as a patient, you want to make sure that your doctor is or your coach, your teacher, your healer is aligned with you and what you want. But as practitioners, as coaches, as teachers, as healers, we get to also see if the people in front of us are aligned for us, because it's just going to be, more beneficial for everybody when that happens. So it's definitely a 2-way street there. So I hear what you're saying, when you get to see someone's potential, when they can see their potential, and you're both willing to, commit 150% to bringing that to the surface.
Yeah, it's huge. It's so fun. It's so rewarding for everyone.
It is. It really is. And it changes the world. When we change one life, like when one life changes, that impact, that ripple effect it has in the world is incredible. So it's such a joy when you get to see people really unlocking that full potential and changing their life around and living in that just excited, energetic, beautiful, enthusiastic energy throughout their day to embrace life.
Yeah, we've all got these incredible gifts to offer the world, and when we have blankets of stress and health disorders and things on top of us, it's difficult to bring those gifts to the world. So we've got to delayer, and we've got to come back to our essence.
Definitely. And then one more question: if you could turn back the clock, what is one piece of health related advice you would offer your 20-year-old self?
I don't I don't know that I would want to change anything or give any advice to that 20-year-old self, because it was all that 20-year-old self went through and learned that brought me to where I am now, you know? Yeah, I would say, you know, I had anorexia as a teen. So if I go all the way back to that stage, I would probably say, stop doing that. You're messing up your endocrine royally right now. And you're going to be spending years healing that in the later years. So yeah, that was a big one. I have no regrets, but
Yes.
it took a long time to heal from that bout of anorexia, which was
I'm
years and
sure.
years long, in the
Oh
middle
my
of my
goodness.
hormones coming into fruition, you know.
Yes.
So you young girls, if you're out there and watching this and you're going down that path, think again. It's
Yeah.
a long road to recovery.
Definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much for your shares and your openness and your vulnerability with us today. It's been absolutely incredible to speak with you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Stephanie, so much for having me, and blessings to everyone watching and all the other speakers. May everyone be filled with so much ease and grace and abundance in your life in all sectors.
Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Hey, Steph here. Before you rush off to the next interview, I wanted to remind you that you are still able to upgrade your ticket to our premium package. When you upgrade, not only do you get lifetime access to this entire event to rewatch, re-listen, and relearn all the incredible expert healing advice that you've received, but you also get instant access to my Healthy Living Blueprint online course, where I walk you step by step through implementing many of the tools and strategies that we've been discussing through this event. Honestly, it has never been easier or more fun to make lifestyle changes and start healing your body. So do not miss out on this offer. It has been heavily discounted for summit attendees and the price will increase shortly. So make sure you get your hands on your VIP upgrade before it is too late. Not only are you getting lifetime access to the entire event and instant access to my online course, but you will also be receiving a one-on-one private call with me where I can personally help you to create your healthy living blueprint action plan. On top of that, you will also receive a copy of my Help Me Heal Anti-Inflammatory Recipe book and a copy of my ebook called Genes, Greens, and Routines, where you will learn how to overcome digestive disorders, get rid of bloating and food sensitivities, and increase your energy naturally. Guys, this entire package has been heavily discounted for summit attendees. So I would hate for you to miss out on this opportunity. So click on the page below. You will see an Upgrade Me Now button. Click on that and get access immediately. I cannot wait to jump on a call with you and start creating your Healthy Living Blueprint action plan.